Alright, just wanted to show you guys the Milwaukee portaband bandsaw table that I made. This is the Milwaukee portaband bandsaw, and I made this table here to make it a vertical bandsaw using 3/16 plate, and it's about $10 worth of scrap that I got at my local scrapyard. If I had to do it over again, I would have made the distance from here to here is about 6 or 7 inches, but I would have carried it over, all the way to the edge here instead of making this radius and then bending it here. So I would have had a longer distance, out to here for the table to support material. But what I did is I took the Milwaukee bandsaw, and actually in the back here, right along this edge, there's a recess inside the bandsaw, and you can take the plate, the 3/16 plate, and stick it in that groove, and you could probably get quarter plate in there too. So if you have quarter plate, you can make it with that. But the bandsaw comes over and laps over this edge, and it holds itself up. So these screws, hold it in position, but it's not holding itself up just by these 3 screws. This recess is carrying a lot of the load. These bandsaws, these blades are cheap. You can get them at Lowe's, Home Depot. I've had this thing for 2 years. I use it all the time, and this is probably only like my 4th blade. I probably need to get a new one. But these things last. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite tools I have in my shop, in my home garage. What I did is I took 3/16 plate, and I used a piece of poster board, and I drew this design to make the table, and then used the poster board and punched these holes on it to make sure it was going to fit. Then I traced it onto steel. After I got the top done, I bent it over in a press brake 90 degrees to carry it down, and then made the feet, carried them out, to 90 degrees, an inch from here to here. The distance from the ground to the bottom of the plate is 9 inches. And 9 inches allows for room so that the portaband is off the ground, which you can get away with 8. You could probably get away with about 7 3/4. But with the 9 inches, what it does is it allows the cord, the power cord, to, so it's not being jammed up on the ground. There's still a little bit of clearance there, so it's not pressed, down to the ground. With these portabands, let me back up so you can see the whole thing. I'm trying to do it with the phone here. From the blade to the back of the portaband is about 4. They say 5 inches, but it's really 4 inches. If you're gonna cut something bigger, like if you have a piece of sheet or a piece of steel that you want to cut that's 10 or 12 inches, bigger, if you can cut the edges and you can cut it on this side, you can go, forever. And so if you're cutting something in a circular pattern and you can cut it this way, you can cut as much as you want. If you're stuck and you're limited from here to here, you're probably only going to be able to get about 4 inches. I got a piece of what is this? 1x4, 2x4 steel 3/16 plate. This is probably 1/8 inch plate that I cut with this thing. But I mean, as you can see, you can cut all the way through, and you're gonna stop right there at the 4 inch mark. That's where you're gonna get hung up. But if you had to cut something 8 inches, you can cut yourself halfway through, and then flip it over, and then cut the other 4 inches. Or you can carry it to this side, cut it all the way around. If you do not have a press, a brake press, what I was going to do before I decided to bend it in the brake press was I was just going to score it with an angle grinder, draw a square, draw a line, score it with the angle grinder about halfway through, bend it over and then weld this edge up. And then you can do the same with the feet. And you can just put that in the vise, bend it over, weld it up, good to go. But I just I had the brake press, so I bent it in the brake press. Let me just show you how this thing runs. This thing is a beast. I have several. This is the only bandsaw I have in my garage, and it's probably one of my better tools that I have. I got a big air compressor, big drill press, TIG welder. This is probably my favorite tool. Maybe because I made this and that's why I like it the best. But it's functional and it works like a champ. What I do, you can actually buy a foot pedal for these things. But what I use is just a clamp, like a 99-cent clamp from Harbor Freight or Northern Tools, whatever. I just clamp it on the trigger. I already have a piece of scrap. See what I did with it. I have this piece of, this is 3/16 plate, and I had actually already cut a piece because I made another video before this one, but the sound was messed up. So I'll cut another one for you real quick, but this is what I did. And this was just one-handed, holding my phone with one hand, recording with the other. But I'll just run this through just to show you. But I mean, this is probably, I don't know if I said this on this video or the last video, but this is probably only my 4th or 5th blade, and I've had this thing for 2 years. So here you go. Throw the clamp on there. So this is probably a 2-inch piece or something like that. 3/16 plate, and it cuts a little over 2 1/4, something like that. But it's plate steel, and this thing cuts like a champ. It's quiet. I mean, it's virtually quiet compared, I guess, to using an angle grinder or something like that. But let me just see if I can back up so you can get a whole shot of what it is that I did. There's the bandsaw. There's the table. If you have any questions, let me know. I recommend this if you have a little garage like I do, and you're just making pieces, making motor mounts, making transmission mounts, little stuff like that. This is the way to go. If you need to cut tubing, square tubing, round tubing, this is what you need. It's relatively inexpensive. I bought this one on Craigslist for I think $140, and this is $10 worth of steel at the local steel yard. Scrap steel, the drops where you get to go and look and pick. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll let you know what I know. So everything I've learned from the ham. I'll represent the ham and YouTube. So that's why I'm throwing this on there. Alright, talk to you later. Bye.